Cain and Moira Dingle have endured a difficult year in Emmerdale, and their relationship now appears to be under serious strain. In a newly released spoiler clip, Cain seeks comfort from his late father Zach, openly sharing his worries at his graveside about what lies ahead for his marriage. Moira has only just made her way back to the village after spending time in prison, having been falsely accused of murder, and she's struggling to cope with losing Butler's farm. At the same time, Cain is finding it hard to come to terms with his prostate cancer diagnosis as he prepares for surgery. These combined pressures have taken a toll on their bond, leaving the pair increasingly disconnected. In a special episode dedicated to their relationship, Moira becomes more anxious about Cain's behaviour and opens up to Chas Dingle about the troubles in their marriage. Elsewhere, Dr. Liam Kavanagh senses that Cain isn't himself and steps in, hoping to offer support. Liam visits at Moira's suggestion, actor Jeff Hordley explains. She thinks Cain needs someone to talk to because he's withdrawn again, and Liam tries to gently get him to open up. Liam is shocked when Cain reveals he's considering calling off his surgery, and he quickly informs Moira and Chas. Cain's thinking, "What if I skip the operation? Maybe everything would just stay the same," Jeff says. He adds, "With this prostate cancer storyline, we're really examining it closely and highlighting the challenges men face with this condition. One major aspect is the life-altering consequences that can follow surgery, such as erectile dysfunction or incontinence. There's no certainty about how things will turn out, and that's what's weighing heavily on Cain's mind." We recently worked with Macmillan and had the chance to speak with two men. It was a humbling experience. While everyone's situation is different, they were both grateful they chose treatment and accepted the side effects in order to keep living their lives. Jeff goes on to say that Cain is particularly concerned about how the procedure might impact his relationship with Moira, especially their intimacy. "We haven't avoided addressing these topics because they're incredibly important," he notes. Actress Natalie J. Robb shares that when Cain eventually confesses his fears to Moira, she reassures him that her love for him remains unchanged. Emmerdale has revealed whether the recent shift in Moira and Kim's relationship is here to stay. Actress Natalie J. Robb has addressed the latest scenes featuring her character Moira Dingle and Kim Tate, where the longtime rivals reached an unexpected understanding, and she shared her thoughts on whether that newfound respect will continue. The pair have been at odds for years, but during Moira's recent time in prison, she contacted Kim to strike a deal involving the sale of Butler's farm. Those moments highlighted a surprising level of respect between them, with Kim clearly admiring Moira's commitment to farming. Now that Moira has returned, the question is whether that dynamic will remain. Rob believes the respect could stick around, though she'd rather not see the two become close friends. "It works well that they clash, but still recognize each other's strengths," she explained. "You can really tell Kim understands how much that farm meant to Moira. Selling it for Cain's sake shows just how deep her feelings run, and it makes Kim see things differently. It's like she realizes it's genuine love. That earns her respect, especially when it comes to family ties and values." She added that while this mutual understanding may linger, it won't stop future clashes. "I think that underlying respect will remain, but they'll definitely still butt heads, and Joe will probably be at the center of it all," she said. As for Joe Tate, Moira is set to learn next week that he was the one who planted the evidence that led to her arrest. Staying true to her fiery nature, Moira arms herself with a shotgun and confronts him head-on. But the big question is whether Joe will manage to talk his way out of trouble once again, as he so often has in the past. Emmerdale's Ross Barton is set to receive a sharp warning from Charity Dingle next week, following the intense Labour storyline, but the big question is whether he'll agree to stay away from baby Layla. Charity fears there's a genuine risk of Ross becoming emotionally attached to his secret daughter after he helped deliver her during recent episodes. Wanting to avoid complications, she decides to confront him and tell him to keep his distance. The tension unfolds as baby Layla returns home after her dramatic arrival. Once Charity finalizes the legal paperwork, Sarah and Jacob Sugden begin a new chapter as they're finally allowed to take Layla back to the farm. Farah's barn is transformed with decorations to celebrate the newborn's arrival, and the mood is upbeat, at least at first. However, when Ross arrives at the gathering, things quickly become uncomfortable. Ross showing up creates an immediate strain between him and Charity, reveals an Emmerdale insider. Charity wants him to keep his distance, but his ties to the family make that difficult to enforce. Charity later pulls Ross aside and warns him not to grow too attached to the baby. Ever since he stepped in to help during the birth in the hospital lift, she's worried he may start seeing Layla as his own. When Moses invites Ross into a family photo, Charity watches closely to see how he reacts. Ross listens to Charity, but reminds everyone he's not part of Layla's family, the source adds. Of course, the truth is more complicated, but most of the guests are unaware of it. In the end, Ross declines the photo and makes an early exit, leaving Charity cautiously relieved that he may have understood the message. It was previously revealed last year that a DNA test confirmed Ross is Layla's biological father. His secret fling with Charity disrupted the planned surrogacy arrangement between Charity, Jacob, and Sarah. Jacob and Sarah still believe Layla was conceived through IVF and is their biological child, but with Dr. Todd now aware of the truth, the situation may not remain hidden for much longer. Beyond Paradise has featured a familiar face for Emmerdale viewers in its tense penultimate episode of the season. Former Emmerdale actress Elaine Claxton, who once played Pierce Harris's estranged mother Martha in the ITV soap, appearing in April 2017 before leaving a few months later in June, has now joined the cast of the BBC series. Claxton appears in the role of Mavis, a dog walker, as DI Humphrey Goodman and his team are drawn into a strange and unsettling new case in Shipton Abbot. According to a BBC synopsis, Season 4 Episode 5 begins with Humphrey and Esther left puzzled after a dog walker discovers a man found painted green and tied up with ivy. The story then explores a mysterious green man theme, leading the team to an isolated community living off the grid. However, tensions rise when a developer from the city threatens their woodland home, sparking conflict and suspicion as the green man symbol keeps reappearing, including a burning office where it has been painted during an arson attack. The episode also introduces a feud between two brothers, described as having intense rivalry and buried secrets that are close to being exposed. Meanwhile, Humphrey is still dealing with pressure from his demanding new superior, Mr. Smith, as he struggles with a difficult staffing decision. Actor Chris Marshall previously described Mr. Smith as a kind of seasonal arch-enemy, noting how his controlling attitude adds further strain to Humphrey's situation. Marshall also explained that Mr. Smith's cold and overly polite behaviour increases the pressure on Humphrey, making the work environment increasingly difficult. Elsewhere in the episode, Kelby is nervously preparing to meet his online girlfriend Agnieszka from Poland for the first time, while Margot and Esther worry he may have fallen victim to a scam. Emmerdale continues to air weeknights at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available to stream on ITVX.